Mama's in the living room watching Judge Judy. I'm in the kitchen eating leftover sushi, and she goes, "Oh, girl, you gotta hear this one." A man was arrested for running a theme park, and when they said, "Where's your license?" he said, "My dog ate it." Oh, you can't make this shit up. Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on her Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. Girl, you gotta hear this one. Mama loves to laugh at how absurd life is, says it's all a comedy and I'm her audience. And I love the way she makes fun of the world. She said, "You'll never guess what's with their girlfriend. It was a man who didn't get us out of the bed. He said, I've been through hell and now I need some help. You just can't make this shit up. You just can't make this shit up." Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. Girl, you gotta hear this one.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I don't know why freaking StreamYard defaults me like that, but whatever. How's everybody doing today? It's another crazy day in the Squid household. My toddler has decided that she wants to continually start the robot vacuum cleaner and then cry about it moving and bumping into her. Make it make sense. I don't know. I sometimes just go, whatever. I pick my battles, and that's not a battle that I really want to pick. Hung Hero, thanks for getting us started with 20 Squid Pro memberships. I appreciate you so very much. You know that. You are an OG on this channel, and this channel would not be the same without you here. So I really, really appreciate you. You are not late. We are just getting started. We are just getting started. I forgot to send our favorite Welsh twat a link. It is Tuesday, and I did talk to him earlier, and he said it is Tuesday. So if he's here, he's here. And if he's not, it's fine. But I said I'd send him a link anyway. And so let me actually do that, because I told him I would do it when I got home from the gym, and I forgot. And for some ungodly reason, my camera has resorted or defaulted back into following me, and I hate that. So I am going to open my camera real quick in my settings and make sure that it stops AI tracking, because I hate that crap. Let's see. There we go. Oh no, it's still doing it. We're just turning off AI tracking. There we go. When there's if you double tap the top of the camera, it turns on and off. And when the little was twisting it around yesterday so she could see herself, she hit it, and I can't fix it by touching the camera. So I actually have to go into the app. All right, we are going to get started. Hope everybody is doing well today. Let me say all my hellos. Heidi, thanks for doing your mod stuff. You are great. I appreciate you. Janet, hey, you're green. Good to see you. Who else is here? Gail, as always, thanks for being a mod for me and supporting my channel always. Oh, Faith says it all. Good to see you. Uncle Buck is here, and thanks for dropping the link to my merch store. Yes, I have derailed merch because the chat is constantly derailing me. Chris, good to see you. And sorry, if anybody I'm missing. Cole, Ammo's girl, Barbara. Let's see. Ammo's girl, Jen Thunder, how are you? Let's get into this, shall we? We are going to start day 3 of this shit show that has been the NTSB hearings for the DC midair collision. I have opinions on this, and I've shared the math ain't mathin', something ain't right. You have to figure out your shit. And apparently the government can't. But I do like when government agencies fight amongst themselves. It is kind of entertaining to watch. And that's generally when you get the truth. Whether it's a runaround answer or not, at least you're getting some semblance of the truth when they don't like each other. And this chairwoman doesn't seem to like the Army or the FAA, which I am not unhappy about. Who doesn't need great derailed merch? I know, right? Yeah, the baby squid touch on all the electronics. All right, so we have this playing at 1.3 speed. So if they are talking a little fast, this is why. This is 2 minutes and 58 seconds in. I just skipped here's the bathrooms, emergency exits in the front. We have 2 overwing exits and exits in the back. Aisle lighting. Y'all know where your bathrooms are. If you need a break, you do not need to ask my permission. Have your air conditioning on, turn it down extra low, and get a drink because, it's not Prosecco, but it'll get the job done. All right. And FYI, my friend, my boss, texted me and said, oh, by the way, I'm not feeling well. So hopefully we can get this done tonight and I won't make anybody sick. I think he has the COVID. And I'm like, let's not get sick because I can't afford that crap. So you're going to have to pay me $100 an hour in order for me to not get sick. He doesn't pay me that. I don't deserve that. I'm just saying, I've already been sick once this year with bronchitis. If y'all were with me for that train wreck, you know how I sounded like Minnie Mouse for a month. So I'm going to try to go to work tonight and not get sick. We will see how that goes. All right, let's get into this. If Spawn shows up, I will just bring him in. Here we go, day 3. Hold on to your hats and take your blood pressure medication, people. Can I get a drink? I mean, everybody's got a cabinet somewhere in their house, right? I mean, we don't. I have 4 beers in the fridge and a couple bottles of wine, and that's all I got in this house. But let's see. And let me know how the audio is.
We're going to go ahead and let the panel all introduce themselves while I find panel 4 and get on the right panel and drink my Starbucks coffee.
I do love this chairwoman.
I'm Captain Rocky Stone. I'm an aviation safety investigator for air carrier operations.
I'm John Flynn, systems investigator.
I'm William Bramble. I'm a National Resource Specialist for Human Performance.
Captain Van McKinney, aerospace engineer, helicopters.
These are the people asking questions that work for the
Air
NTSB.
traffic control investigator. Marie Muller, vehicle performance investigator.
Michael Portman, aerospace engineer, vehicle recorders.
Catherine Wilson, human performance.
Brian Soper, lead air traffic investigator.
Jihoon Shin, helicopter engineer.
I'm Brian Fuchs, materials engineer, and I will be running the audio visual today.
Good morning. I'm Anthony Lamb, transportation safety specialist. I'm running the timer today.
Good morning. Dr. Jana Price, transportation safety specialist.
Lauren Groff, chief data scientist.
Sean Payne, branch chief vehicle recorders division.
Tim LeBaron, director of aviation safety.
Thank you. Jana, you got introduced twice. She'll be in the front row next. So behind me is Mr. Daniel Baranowski. He'll provide legal support throughout the investigative hearing. And for those in the room, several representatives from our Transportation Disaster Assistance Division are here to provide support throughout the proceedings today. Can TDA please stand up? We have folks there all around. Thank you very much. And once again, volunteer mental health clinicians from the American Red Cross can provide emotional support for anyone attending. I'd like to thank the Red Cross for being here throughout this hearing and certainly throughout all our investigative work, whether it's this investigation or others. Turning to the parties to the hearing, as I call the name of each party, I ask the designated spokesperson to identify themselves and then introduce others at their table. We'll start with Airline Pilots Association.
Good morning. I'm Captain Daniel Alpa, spokesperson and party coordinator. With me today, Chris Heck. Next to him, Captain Matt Gorshi, Shea Bohm across the table, and we have Captain Mike Palazzolo, Captain Russell Page.
Federal Aviation Administration.
Good morning, Chairwoman. My name is Todd Gentry. I'm the agency spokesperson for the hearing today. Beside me is Patrick Lush, the agency's lead investigator and party coordinator. We have two SMEs with us today. We have Alex Rodriguez and Andy Shaw for the first panel. Hearing Heidi Kemner is the Federal Aviation hearing officer, and in front of me is Chris Stevenson, our counsel.
Thank you so much, FAA. National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
Good morning, Chairwoman. John Murdoch. I'm the party spokesman for NACA today. I'm the safety representative. Across the table from me is Seth Myers, party coordinator. To his left is Cher Oxenberg, safety rep. To her left is Sandra Fulmer, safety rep. And to my right, Karina Marinas, air safety investigator. And to her right is Natalie Moffett, NACA attorney.
Thank you very much. PSA Airlines.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Darren Hall. I'm the Vice President of Safety, Security, and Development for PSA. At the end of the table, we have our Director of Operations, Captain Lucas Bowden, and beside me is our legal counsel, Benjamin Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Sikorsky.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Dave Blair, the Chief Pilot for Safety with Sikorsky. Behind me is Jill Browning, our Chief Air Safety Investigator. To my right is Paul Bowles, our Chief Counsel. To my other right again is Kyle DeLong, our Director for Aviation Safety and Airworthiness, and Dan Cooper, who you met, our Senior Technical Fellow.
Wonderful. And the U.S.
Okay, just to recap, just in case we have anybody who is joining us for day 3 on either live or the replay who hasn't been here for day 1 or day 2. PSA Airlines is the airline that was operating the American Airlines flight. They are the ones who actually lost the crew. Sikorsky is the manufacturer of the Black Hawk helicopter. And not only are these NTSB people in this back table asking questions of the panel, which is this table with the blue thing here. And Spawn Trooper, how are you?
Bloody hell. You didn't even give me a chance to... Hello.
Well, I had stopped the video to kind of give a recap on who these people are and why there's so many tables of people.
Guilty, that's what they are. Sorry.
So the Airline Pilots Association, after the NTSB gets done questioning all these people, each table gets a chance to ask questions as well. So it's quite the interesting experience. Some parts of it are boring, but then you get shit that someone answers a question and they're like, wait, what? That's not what was in the report. That's not what happens. It's not how the shit works. So
can I just make a quick announcement?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
There will be no spanking. That's not the announcement.
I didn't mean it like that. First of all, hi Jeff, how you doing, buddy? First of all, hello everybody in chat in the community. I send my love, respect, and honor to you. SMN, hi, how you doing? Hop along. Hello everyone. Bollocks. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, no.
Brain is buffering.
Yes, yes. I've got a good one coming up soon, and a big thank you and big shout out to JK. Thank you very much, buddy. Yeah. Anyway, yesterday on my stream, I said due to illness, due to situations, obviously, my pretty couldn't come on yesterday, and obviously I got Luther thrown by Squid Procon. So, but today I think it's going to be 3 o'clock today. My pretty is going to show herself, and hopefully there won't be any impressions of The Exorcist or things like that.
All right. Well, while we are listening to this, then I will go and redirect everybody over to your stream because my pretty's doing all the work today, right?
Oh shit! Yeah. Yes. My pretty's going to. Oh crap! I forgot to write a description. Anyway.
It's okay. It happens. That's why we're here to support each other. Because sometimes I'm like, wait, I forgot, I didn't do this, and
Listen,
been a
I mean,
week.
I'm sorry to derail this very quickly, and we'll get back on about the NTSB because I'm quite interested in after last. What?
Speaking of derailed merch, this is why I have derailed merch.
Right. Anyway, like you had to dig at me. Anyway, oh, for fuck's sake, what was I going to say? No, I mean the thing is, it's been. Look, I've had a really busy 2 days. Right, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Right, everything that shouldn't have gone wrong went wrong. And today, once again I've had the police at the door, which was freaking hilarious, by the way.
Did you get swatted?
No.
Okay.
No, it was something else which was absolutely hilarious. I'll talk to you about that privately. You will pee yourself. Trust me, it was hilarious.
Please don't really be myself.
It's and I also had work contact me and everything else. And then I was like, and then I knew that my pretty was poorly. And you guys know that I try to be as nice as I possibly can when someone's ill. And today it was like, this is what I'm going to do. These are the paperwork. This is going to be the itinerary. And I'm like going, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I literally sent her a blinking GIF with yes, ma'am. It was like,
oh boy.
Oh crap. Hang on a minute.
All right, I'm going to get this started again.
Yeah, I've got someone at the door again. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Army.
All right, we are going to get this started again. Everybody in the room gets a chance to ask questions, but only one person per table. We will try to derail as little as possible, but it happens.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Brigadier General Matt Raymond. I'm the party spokesman. And with me is Colonel Matt Parker, our Army Party Coordinator, Colonel Noah Fontenez, our legal counsel, Colonel Kevin Easter, the Deputy Director of Aviation. We've got CBO5 Bob Phillips, the Army's Standardization Officer, and Mr. David George, Technical Lead for Assured Airspace Access Systems.
Thank you, and thank you all for your participation in the proceedings. To ensure all questions were answered yesterday, we shifted panel 4 to today, so we all appreciate everyone's flexibility. And we'll begin on panel 4 in just a few moments with collision avoidance technology. Later today, we'll move to panel 5, which will address safety data and safety management systems at the various organizations. We'll break for lunch and throughout as needed, so please remain flexible. And we'll follow the same process for both panels. Dr. Bauer will introduce the topics to be addressed, as well as the technical panel members and witnesses. I'll then swear in the witnesses who will be questioned in the following order. First, by the NTSB technical panel, next by the parties to the hearing, and finally by the Board of Inquiry. And then on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank the many witnesses testifying today, many of which have been here throughout the entire proceeding. So thank you so much for your work and for being here and for your support of aviation safety. And again, just a reminder that we ask all witnesses to be present until we adjourn, unless you've coordinated that in advance with the hearing officer, who will coordinate with me. And next, the hearing officer will describe the exhibits. Dr. Bauer.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hamady. Exhibits for this hearing include reports produced by NTSB investigative staff, videos, and other documents submitted by the technical panel members, witnesses, and parties to support the testimony and questions you will hear today. The exhibits for this hearing are in the docket. The docket number is SA-544. That's Sierra Alpha 544. The NTSB is authorized by statute to disclose information to carry out its mission, but we protect confidentiality and proprietary information to the extent possible. As such, the exhibits contain redactions. These are the result of negotiations between the parties and the NTSB regarding the disclosure of information claimed to be personally identifiable, security sensitive, or proprietary in nature. Though redacted, the exhibits contain sufficient information so that the members of the public can refer to them during the hearing and throughout the NTSB investigation. The exhibits entered into the record and any presentations, along with other records of the investigation, become part of the NTSB public docket and are available via the NTSB website, ntsb.gov. The public docket opened Wednesday morning. Party spokespersons and witnesses have been provided electronic copies of the public docket containing the exhibits identified above. The docket is located on the investigation page, which you can access in one of two ways. by visiting ntsb.gov, or if you've joined us in person, you can scan the QR code on the hearing agenda. On the investigation page, you will find the link to the public docket on the right-hand side, just below the map. A transcript of the testimony taken during the hearing will be prepared and entered into the docket as soon as possible. In addition, Mr. Baranowski will keep a list of any documents admitted during the hearing that are not currently exhibits in the NTSB public docket. These documents will be submitted after the hearing and entered into the docket. As a reminder, if a party to the hearing has a new exhibit to propose in accordance with 49 CFR section 845.9, it will not be admitted unless Chairwoman determines that good cause has been shown. Chairwoman Hamady, this concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. We're ready to begin panel 4, Dr. Bauer. So please review the panel topics and introduce the technical panel and witnesses.
Thank you. Panel 4 will provide an overview of collision avoidance technology. We will address the following topics. Description of collision avoidance technology. FAA requirements for collision avoidance technology for Class B airspace. Difference between the Traffic Alert and Collision Avoidance System, known as TCAS, and Airborne Collision Avoidance System, known as ACAS. Difference between an ACAS and ADSB Traffic Advisory System, or known as ATAS. Pilot compliance rate with TCAS resolution advisories, including the current rate and what can be done to improve compliance, and reduction in nuisance traffic alerts and resolution advisories to improve the compliance rate. Description of TCAS version 7.0 and its inhibits, including resolution advisory inhibits and oral alert inhibits. A description of what collision avoidance technology the CRJ had on board to include TCAS configuration on the CRJ, the traffic display to the CRJ pilots, and any limitations. A description of the Army philosophy of collision avoidance technology, including Army use of ForeFlight for traffic awareness. A description of the results of TCAS and ACAS simulations using the geometry of this accident. Reduction of resolution advisory threshold and the effect that would have on operations in TCAS resolution advisory compliance. Evolution of ACAS and safety payback or benefit. ACAS XR for helicopters and ACAS XR standards. Combinations of technology solutions to mitigate the risk of future mid-air collisions. And ADSB in and out, the effect on aircraft onboard collision avoidance technology and operations. The NTSB technical panel, starting on my right after Mr. Banning, is composed of Captain Rocky Stone, aviation accident investigator for air carrier operations. Mr. John Flynn, aerospace engineer, systems. Dr. William Bramble, a national resource specialist in human performance. Captain Van McKinney, aerospace engineer for helicopters. And Mr. Chahoon Shin, an aerospace engineer for helicopters, who is seated behind Captain McKinney. Witnesses for this panel are composed of the following individuals. From my left, nearest the board members. In the front row, we have Dr. Steve Kasner, an aviation human factors researcher and author and retired NASA Ames employee. Dr. Wes Olson, the leader of the Transportation Safety and Resilience Group at MIT Lincoln Laboratory. Mr. Neil Suchi, a TCAS manager with the Federal Aviation Administration. Mr. Matt Haskin, with the FAA certification for avionics, communications, and surveillance with the Federal Aviation Administration. Mr. Michael Grease, the Senior Director for Certification and Airworthiness with Collins Aerospace, and Dr. Fabrice Kunze, the President of the Avidyne Corporation. In the second row, from left to right, we have Captain David Surridge, the Director of Air Traffic Management with American Airlines. Next is Captain Grant Clow, the Assistant Director for Flight Ops Tech with PSA Airlines. Next, Chief Warrant Officer David Van Vechten, Standardization Instructor Pilot with the Army Aviation Brigade. Lieutenant Colonel Paul Flanagan, Product Manager for Assured Aerospace Access Systems with the U.S. Army.
And let's make this very, very, very clear. I am not a huge fan of the Army at all. I think they're doing some double speak, and that I'm not so fond of this guy, but that colonel that was here before, I think in panel 2, I wanted to jump through my screen and give him an earful of what I thought about him. I did not say a lot of my opinions on a stream because they would get me demonetized, but I would tell him to his face. That is how I feel about Army aviation right now. I don't have very high hopes for the Army. Well, I never do. Like, I was Navy. The Army, I don't have high hopes for them anyway, but Army aviation, maybe you should just leave that shit to the Air Force and the Navy. Just saying. Just saying.
And Ms. Stacy Rowland, the Director of Systems Engineering with Sage Tech. Chairwoman Hamady, these witnesses have been pre-qualified and their respective experience and qualifications appear in the docket as exhibits. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bauer. I'll now ask the witnesses to please
dude
stand
talks
and
really
raise your right
slow.
hand. Please answer by saying, I do. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this hearing will be the truth? Thank you. You may be seated. As a reminder to the witnesses, you'll remain under oath until the conclusion of the hearing. We ask that you answer the questions factually and avoid analysis. If you have any questions about if a question would be asking for analysis, please feel free to direct the question to me or the hearing officer. Finally, please push your microphone button to talk and then push it again when you're done. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Bauer, and the technical panel.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll start with Captain Stone.
Thank you, Dr. Bauer. We're actually going to, even performance plays a central role in everything that we do in collision avoidance and
Okay, this has nothing to do with the hearing at all, but Rocky Stone, I mean, come on. His parents had to be high when they named him. Great name, by the way. But really? Oh my God. Sorry. Rocky Stone is like the best name I've ever heard.
aviation. So we're actually going to start our questions with Dr. William Bramble talking about the human performance issues.
Thanks, Captain Stone. Actually, before I begin with our predetermined line of questioning today, I just wanted to follow up on something yesterday that was discussed with you, Mr. Van Vechten. The term vertigo came up, and I wanted to point out that that term is sometimes colloquially used to refer to the phenomenon of spatial disorientation, which is an inaccurate perception of attitude or trajectory. Such experiences are minor and transitory usually, but they're unfortunately common due to the fact that human senses did not evolve to correctly interpret the forces of flight. A 2002 U.S. Air Force survey found that 26.9% of pilots had experienced spatial disorientation in the month before the survey, and 58% had experienced it in the previous 6 months. And a 1975 study of naval helicopter pilots found that 56% had experienced one or more episodes of severe disorientation in flight. Mr. Van Vechten, have you ever experienced misleading sensations when maneuvering at night under NVGs?
Yes, I have.
How do you handle that when it occurs?
It's essential to cross-check your instruments and reference your primary would be your attitude indicator. Now, the only time this is really prevalent is when you don't have a visible horizon. Once spatial disorientation occurs, once you have the horizon, it almost immediately goes away for most pilots. And it's highly unlikely that both pilots would be spatially disoriented at the same time. So you can also transfer the controls to the other pilot, and most likely they are not spatially disoriented.
And side note, if you know anything about the U.S. and the Bermuda Triangle and World War II, there was something called Flight 19, which was a group of bombers that were doing a training mission off of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and went missing. They think that instead of one of the theories about the Bermuda Triangle that took them is spatial disorientation. They were following the lead pilot. He got disoriented, and instead of speaking up about them getting disoriented or about him being disoriented and being lost, they all just followed him, and they all ran out of fuel and basically unalived themselves. I'm wondering if she got disoriented, which is one of the reasons that she could not keep her altitude, and she was in the middle of the river instead of on the shoreline. It seemed like she was all over the place. She got disoriented and he didn't speak up. Call me crazy, but there's my theory. But I follow a lot of World War II aviation history. That is I love it. And I looked into Flight 19 a lot. I'm not remembering details of Flight 19 pilots' names right now. However, when you put a camera on and you're talking about NTSB stuff and then you start pivoting to World War II history, the names don't come up very quickly. But I'm willing to bet that she got disoriented and he didn't correct her because of reasons that shall remain female.
How are you supposed to communicate with your fellow pilot when that happens?
We have since changed our technique and procedures. There's a new term called uncaged, but prior to that, you would announce that you are spatially disoriented. Now, I need to mention that there are 3 different types of spatial disorientation. The first is recognize, where I understand something's not right. Maybe I feel like I'm spinning or I'm getting what's called the leans. That's recognized. Unrecognized is it's happening and I don't realize it, and then that could lead to incapacitating. The most dangerous would be unrecognized spatial disorientation because you don't know it's happening. So I'm sorry, going back to your original question again, I want to explain those 3. What was your original question?
How are you supposed to communicate?
Oh.
And I think you did.
Sorry. Yes.
Does that usually resolve if you follow the protocols?
Yes, it should, because like I stated, it's highly unlikely that both pilots would be spatially disoriented at the same time, and it's usually unlikely to occur with a visible horizon. So that usually corrects the situation if you announce it and then transfer the controls.
Okay. All right, turning to Dr. Kasner.
Dr. Bramble, if you're going to raise that, can you yield for a second to me?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Van Vechten, I just want to, along those lines of question, because Dr. Bramble raised it, at the time of the mid-air collision, there was a pilot flying in the left seat. That individual was flying at the time of the accident, correct?
Correct.
At the time of the dizzy comment, which pilot was flying? Do you know?
I'm trying to think back to the transcript. I just went over this last night. It should have been the pilot. The instructor pilot was flying the aircraft.
That's correct. The pilot instructor was flying for 10 minutes from 1943 to 1953-39, which was confirmed by our recorders specialist.
And the reason it's a little confusing is because PI is the duty symbol we log, but it's co-pilot. I know. And then the pilot in command was the instructor pilot, and that's PC.
Is it unusual that a pilot who would not be flying would also experience dizziness because they're not flying?
That's actually more common. So when I'm on the controls, like I stated yesterday, like demonstrating combat maneuvering flight or perform evasive maneuvers, several times I've had a co-pilot or pilot become sick and nauseated because of the maneuvers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Vechten. Back to you, Dr. Bramble.
Thanks. Those were some very helpful clarifications. Okay, Dr. Kasner, we're going to kick this off by talking about see and avoid, which has been discussed from the standpoint of air traffic management quite a bit over the last 2 days, but we haven't talked about the human factors of it that extensively. Can you describe the challenges of see and avoid from a pilot standpoint?
Certainly, as I pointed out the other day.
If you could just come a little closer to the mic.
Certainly. Our range of vision is actually quite narrow, as we talked about the other day, about 3 degrees. In a complex airspace, you have many directions you got to look in, up, down, and 180 degrees, maybe even 360 degrees. So it's a lot of real estate to cover with one narrow beam of attention.
Okay, and what does human factors research say about how good pilots are at detecting other airborne traffic that they aren't necessarily expecting to see?
Okay, that's highly dependent on how much information we're provided about where the potential threats could be. There's a classic study done about 35 years ago that asked pilots to just operate normally and were given no heads up at all about any intruder aircraft that might come their way. And what they found was pilots spotted just a little more than half of those intruder aircraft. And to be clear, they missed almost half of those, given no clues, given no heads up that anything was coming their way.
Wow. Why is it so hard to notice an intruder target?
Again, there's so many things to look at when flying an aircraft. You have the internal scene, instruments, the external scene, many things to think about. There's just a lot going on. And again, we have that ability to look at and think about one thing at a time.
What are the factors that attract our focal attention to an object in the environment typically?
Okay, that's where peripheral vision comes in. Motion is a very big cue for us. Everyone is familiar with the idea. They see something flickering or jittering in their periphery. It grabs our attention. We see it detected quite well.
Okay, when two aircraft are on a collision course flying a relatively steady heading, the opposite target will appear to be relatively stationary in the pilot's visual field. How would that impact the ability to detect the target?
That's going to make it very difficult. When something is approaching from the side, say a 90-degree angle, you get a lot of movement in your field of vision. When something is coming at you directly, it just doesn't seem to move very much. And that's a tough thing to see.
Mr. Fuchs, can you put up figure 30, please, from 2 Hilo A? Okay, so we reviewed some of the limitations of NVGs yesterday. Monochrome, this is the white phosphor version, so lack of color. How might that be a challenge in detecting airborne traffic?
Well, there are many challenges there. First of all, there's no color. So any aircraft that is oriented at an angle toward me, I'm not going to be able to see their navigation lights, the red and green navigation lights, which could help me understand how they're oriented and which direction they're coming. Also here, it makes it difficult to know what is what we were calling cultural lights, stars, and aircraft. We just discussed that an aircraft coming at you does not appear to move in the visual field. Well, neither does a star and neither does a building. So this makes it very, very much a challenge.
Okay. Mr. Van Vechten, those aircraft shown on the horizon in this image are about 4 or 5 miles away. Do they look any different than ground lights? In real life, can you make out the fuselages of those aircraft, or they just appear as point lights?
Those just appear as point lights. It's very difficult to tell. It could be on a pole in the distance, could be a light. And because I'm so far away, I wouldn't have any motion like you stated, so I can't tell if it's moving. So that would be difficult to determine.
Okay. Can we pull up figure 29? Okay, so this is about a mile away. These are images taken from the green and the white NVGs. The acuity is reduced by the use of NVGs, so you see they look a little bit blurry. It's about 20/40 for the green, 20/25 for the white. Can you typically make out the shape of the aircraft at this distance?
No, I cannot.
Okay. How does that impact your ability to differentiate airborne targets from ground lights?
We have to use scanning and viewing with the naked eye. So continuously moving your head to try to get some type of relative motion to the object that you're looking at to determine if it's moving or if it's stationary, and then looking with the naked eye to possibly see an anti-collision light, or like the doctor stated, the red or green lights. So in aviation, we have a term right on red return. So if you're looking at an aircraft and you see a red light on the right side, that means it's returning towards you. And that's how we use the red and the green position lights to determine the track of the aircraft.
But how do you do that when you're looking through the monochrome NVGs?
You have to look with the naked eye to try to see the red and green lights.
Do you usually flip the goggles up or tilt your head? Or?
No, you look side to side or look underneath the goggles.
Okay.
And see, all of this extra things that you have to do with NVGs and the fact that this is a training mission, and I understand I was naval aviation, so every mission that is not in an active war zone is training. So for civilians, you take that one with a grain of salt. Every mission that we do that is not in an active war zone is training. However, yet one more reason, I've preached this from the beginning, I cannot stress this enough. This is why military aviation and civilian aviation should never cross paths. You should never put civilians who did not ask to be a part of your training mission in harm's way. Yet here they are doing this every damn day. I can't get over that. And at the heart of it, I cannot get over that. I can't. That is could have prevented this 100%. Why are you running your missions during flight ops at DCA? Wait till their flight ops are over, then do your mission. I just can't get over why a military aircraft is allowed to cross a civilian runway during active flight operations. You will never change my mind about that. That is a hill I'm willing to die on. And he's proving it with the more that he talks.
Okay, so given the difficulty of detecting apparently motionless targets in the visual field, what is the role of expectancy, Dr. Kasner, in driving attention when operating in a dynamic environment and performing multiple tasks?
Well, here's where the idea of airport orientation, airspace orientation comes into play. If I have a familiarization with traffic patterns there, I'm going to know to direct my attention a little extra in those directions, more than I scan anywhere else. So knowing where to look, that is the key.
Okay, and what drives that knowing where to look?
Experience is one terrific source of that information. And if you don't have that, and the airspace is sufficiently complex, the airport, sometimes they'll prepare an airport qualification chart. And that's the FAA's opportunity to relate that information to the crew. Let me know where the problem areas are.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you need an accurate mental model of traffic patterns and movements to be able to anticipate the movement of airborne targets?
That's essential.
Okay. Do psychologists have a term for mistaking unusual patterns in the environment for more common patterns?
Well, loosely referred to as expectation bias, that if you're primed to be ready to see something and something pops up, you have a tendency to categorize it according to your expectation.
When does that tend to occur? When do people fall into that trap?
Well, it's when, how do I phrase this? When the same thing happens over and over, you just encounter that so many times, gather so much experience with it, it tends to just sell itself to you that you're just so primed each time to expect that.
Is it fair to say that if you either don't receive information about what makes this event unusual, or you forget that information, that you're more likely to revert to the more common expectation?
That can be the case, yes.
Okay. All right, can we pull up 3G, page 57, Brian? So the FAA's PDARS study indicated that 4 to 7% of fixed-wing arrivals landed runway 33 when DCA was in a north configuration in 2024, and about 93% landed runway 1. How would this pattern affect crew expectations about where to scan for traffic if they either did not hear or forgot that traffic was landing runway 33?
Well, it would seem to make it more challenging, and I would want to have all the information I could get if I was asked to do something unusual or something new.
Okay. Continuing with the discussion about expectations, I'm going to read some quotes from 3 12th Aviation Battalion pilots. We asked about their understanding of the protection provided by DC helicopter routes. A Chief Warrant Officer 2 said, maybe I just have too much trust in what's printed in front of me, because I generally think that this is going to keep us safe. So if there's a traffic that's landing and Tower has them and we're on Route 4, the way I understand it is we should be fine. It shouldn't be an issue. Another Chief Warrant Officer 2 said, was asked, would it be your assumption that if you stayed below the max altitude on Route 4 that you'd be safe from arriving traffic on 33? His answer was, yeah, that's why the routes are published, 200 feet and below. So you imagine that it's going to separate you from other traffic. A third pilot, who's actually
I'm muted, sorry. Holy crap. Look at the body language of the other people who were asking questions when he was reading what the warrant officers had said. Their body language is telling. Yeah, boomer. Yeah. I'm snacking on what is it? Beef jerky, because I'm hungry, and instead of going for sugar, I'm trying to go for protein. However, look at the body language. We're going to back it up by 10 seconds or so, because it is, you watch people look up to see what I'm assuming the panel 4 being asked the questions, what their body language is, like the expressions on their face, especially this guy right here with the glasses. Like, he is telling. Yes, boomer pro quo. Yeah. Oh, and thanks, Jeffrey, for sending me the clip of the JAG episode where they say squid pro quo. I was a teenager when Jag was out. So that's not where I got the name, but it is funny. But watch their body language.
Or that you'd be safe from arriving traffic on 3-3? His answer was, yeah, that's why the routes are published 200 feet and below. So you imagine that it's going to separate you from other traffic. A third pilot,
This
who's
guy
actually
too.
the commander of the 12th Aviation Battalion, was asked, was it your understanding that if you stay below the max altitude on Route 4 next to BC, that you'd be safe from arriving commercial traffic?
Oh no. I think this is them. Good Lord. Oh no. This cannot be happening to me right now. Y'all can hear me though, right? So, because this is what happens to their stuff all the time. It's YouTube. Why is YouTube being a butthead? All right. So YouTube decided to be a YouTube had to be a butthead today. So we are going to remove them from the stage. And Spawn had somebody at the door. I don't know if he's still with us or not, but we're going to try to re-add them.
Yeah, I just got back when you were saying that.
Yeah, yes, you can hear you. Yes, YouTube is asshat with buffering. Yeah, I don't know.
The YouTube, you're always going to be 20-25 seconds behind, so there's not much you can do about that.
No, YouTube is being an asshat with the buffering from their screen. Yeah, thanks, Uncle here, for the $2 super chat. YouTube is asshole.
Yeah. Well,
you ran. You've been running. Did you just do a marathon?
No, I basically the Hidloo turned up again, so I had to go back out and talk to them.
Okay.
Then fucking Monster jumped out of his fucking cage, so I had to go and catch him, the fucker. And basically, we were running around in circles, and they were laughing their asses off. I got him back into the cage, and then I spoke to them, and then a mate turned around and basically told me that the Queen's car is a. I swear to God, when she comes in, I am gonna kick her backside so fucking hard. Like, she's basically grinded the gears, and the gearbox is fine, but this time it's the clutch. So,
Wasn't it the clutch last time?
No. Yes, no, I don't care. I refuse to answer that question because, like, so much happening with that freaking car. I just want to take it and use it as target practice with my car because my car's playing there. Anyway, no, but yeah. And by the way, Hidloo means police. Sorry, bad habit.
Oh, there's that Dr. Pepper for the win.
I need this. Look, I tell you one thing. My little one, all right?
I need this. I need this.
I
I'm like a crack addict.
Like, don't tell the Queen, but I need this because the thing is, my little one, bless his cotton socks. Yes, he's got 4 legs, tail, and he's got a mouth like fucking Jaws. I tell you one thing though, he knows when daddy wants to play, but I didn't want to play, and he thought I wanted to play.
I mean, and he's the kind of dog where if you don't, he needs exercise.
He's
And
had his playtime today. He's had his run. Hell,
he's a working dog. They need to work.
Well, yeah, but he just needed freaking to show off in front of the old fucking police.
All right, we'll see if this actually decides to play again. Because, you know.
I've done by the way, just very quickly before you start that, I did a check last night in regards to our conversation we had. And apparently there was across the board for YouTube had issues. So just for a heads up.
Yeah. It has to do with YouTube not liking to work with some streaming platforms such as StreamYard, Streamlit. Yeah, every streaming platform.
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't like to cooperate with anybody but themselves. But hey, YouTube, guess what? If you make streaming straight through YouTube better,
yeah, and you can give us creators the same type of like scheduling platforms and everything else that other platforms have, then we would not be using other platforms. We would be using yours. I mean, I would love to be able to just go into my studio, set up a description, set up the thumbnail and everything else. But
It'd be so much easier. And like all these streaming platforms are so expensive for what they give you.
Yeah.
And it's like the ones that do give you more are so damn non-user friendly. And it's like you can't win either way. But
right, quick question before you start the video. Going back on topic. In regards of John Flynn and the other guy there, Dr. whatever his name is.
Dr. Pepper.
The last time we spoke about this, they were richly grilling the FAA chaps on that board. Have I missed anything that I need to be updated on?
This is panel 4. This is talking about the air traffic systems or the air systems like the TCAS and that stuff. So there's a couple of people who have been on panels before. That pilot, Warrant Officer Van Devern or Van Vechten.
Oh, the
and
one
then,
that sat in the background there.
Yeah, and then the NASA retired guy. But other than that, everybody else is new.
Oh, really?
I think the other Army officer, I think he's been on a panel before, but he was only asked like 2 questions. I think.
Oh, the Fullbird, the guy who had the facial expressions, the one who was.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, we shall see.
Oh, did they finish asking questions about training on MVGs and stuff?
They were talking about it. They did ask Vertigo questions at the very beginning too.
Right.
So,
Roger that. Okay. Yeah.
But this guy is asking a good line of questioning about, and he's reading the transcript of what questions they asked other pilots. And YouTube's still being a butthead. So
yeah, like I said, I just find it very interesting that they don't richly go into that. There's no one there from the military or a subject expert in regards of the effects that night vision goggles or night vision sights can do to someone.
And that's the questions he's currently asking.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I'm having to go back in and reload it. So I closed my YouTube tab and I'm reopening it because their stream is not wanting to. Okay, here, I had to back it up. So I had to back it up a few minutes to where it decided it wanted to start playing again. So we will go with it, and I'm just not going to touch it.
Moving your head to try to get some type of relative motion to the object that you're looking at to determine if it's moving or if it's stationary, and then looking with the naked eye to possibly see an anti-collision light, or like the doctor stated, the red or green lights. So in aviation, we have a term right on red return. So if you're looking at an aircraft and you see a red light on the right side, that means it's returning towards you, and that's how we use the red and the green position lights to determine the track of the aircraft.
But how do you do that when you're looking through the monochrome NVGs?
You have to look with the naked eye to try to see the red and green lights.
Do you usually flip the goggles up or tilt your head? Or?
No, you look side to side or look underneath the goggles.
Okay. Okay, so given the difficulty of detecting apparently motionless targets in the visual field, what is the role of expectancy, Dr. Kasner, in driving attention when operating in a dynamic environment and performing multiple tasks?
Well, here's where the idea of airport orientation, airspace orientation comes into play. If I have a familiarization with traffic patterns there, I'm going to know to direct my attention a little extra in those directions, more than I scan anywhere else. So knowing where to look, that is the key.
Okay, and what drives that knowing where to look?
Experience is one terrific source of that information. And if you don't have that, and the airspace is sufficiently complex, the airport, sometimes they'll prepare an airport qualification chart. And that's the FAA's opportunity to relate that information to the crew. Let me know where the problem areas are.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you need an accurate mental model of traffic patterns and movements to be able to anticipate the movement of airborne targets?
That's essential.
Okay. Do psychologists have a term for mistaking unusual patterns in the environment for more common patterns?
Well, loosely referred to as expectation bias, that if you're primed to be ready to see something and something pops up, you have a tendency to categorize it according to your expectation.
When does that tend to occur? When do people fall into that trap?
Well, it's when how do I phrase this? When the same thing happens over and over, you just encounter that so many times, gather so much experience with it, it tends to just sell itself to you that you're just so primed each time to expect that.
Is it fair to say that if you either don't receive information about what makes this event unusual, or you forget that information, that you're more likely to revert to the more common expectation?
That can be the case, yes.
Okay. All right, can we pull up 3G, page 57, Brian? So the FAA's PDARS study indicated that 4 to 7% of fixed-wing arrivals landed runway 33 when DCA was in a north configuration in 2024, and about 93% landed runway 1. How would this pattern affect crew expectations about where to scan for traffic if they either did not hear or forgot that traffic was landing runway 33?
Well, it would seem to make it more challenging, and I would want to have all the information I could get if I was asked to do something unusual or something new.
Okay. Continuing with the discussion about expectations, I'm going to read some quotes from 3 12th Aviation Battalion pilots. We asked about their understanding of the protection provided by DC helicopter routes. A Chief Warrant Officer 2 said, maybe I just have too much trust in like what's printed in front of me, because I generally think that this is going to keep us safe. So if there's a traffic that's landing and Tower has them and we're on Route 4, the way I understand it is like we should be fine. It shouldn't be an issue. Another Chief Warrant Officer 2 said, was asked, would it be your assumption that if you stayed below the max altitude on Route 4 that you'd be safe from arriving traffic on 33? His answer was, yeah, that's why the routes are published, 200 feet and below. So you imagine that it's going to separate you from other traffic. A third pilot, who's actually the commander of the 12th Aviation Battalion, was asked, was it your understanding that if you stayed below the max altitude on Route 4 next to DC that you'd be safe from arriving commercial traffic?
Uh-oh. Here comes the buffer zone. Thank you for holding. The stream will continue shortly. Please continue to hold.
Hey, I'm here. It's buffering at the same spot it was. Awesome.
Take it from, do you know what? Take it forward, say like about, yeah, go forward a bit.
1, 2, 3, test 1, 2,
There
3.
you go.
Somebody stole my seat.
Oh, there comes the producer.
Yep. Oh, angel bugs. Here. You want that? Can I have my chair? Oh. Ready? 1. 1. You don't have to get down. You just have to get. I'm gonna sit down first. Ugh. Whoa.
What happened? You know you're muted, by the way.
I'm muted because somebody keeps letting out blood-curdling screams for no reason.
Oh, okay.
I would prefer not to
Put free.
have everybody's ears be blown out. I am not running an ad blocker. This seems to be a them problem, not a me problem.
Yeah. See, technology.
Because this is them.
And the commander said,
There we go. So this is a them problem, not a me problem. But somebody was letting out a blood-curdling scream that you heard when I muted myself. Every time that I tried to unmute myself, she would let out another one. And it was only because I moved her out of my chair and she's sitting on the other chair. And that made her so possible. We're watching it. Yeah, we're watching a hearing. Get it? Haha, funny joke. You're the dad joke you get the dad joke of the day. Like, no, he doesn't have the dad joke of the day, apparently. Not according to the little. But here we are. We're going to try this once more with feeling. And hopefully the NTSB and their stream has their shit together. Maybe.
Said that's what the route altitudes are meant to do, to deconflict that traffic. Yes, sir. Dr. Kasner, how might these assumptions that we now know to be incorrect impact pilot scanning when traveling down Route 4?
I think it would provide a sense of safety and security there, and most likely result in a more relaxed scan, lesser scanning.
Okay, Mr. Van Vechten, how long did you fly UH-60s out of Davison Army Airfield?
From July of 2020 to July of 2024.
Okay, so about 4 years. How many times would you estimate you traversed helicopter Route 4?
Hundreds.
And how many times did you encounter airline traffic landing runway 33?
Less than 10.
Okay.
Well, wait.
You said yesterday that you
Less than 10 times or less than 10%? You need to you need to get specific. And I'm specific because, And hey, King Paco, how are you? This really warrants getting any squid derailing merch that you see in like Squiddle. Yes, my fourth wall shop. Oh boy, yes, the derails. I had to change a diaper, so y'all bear with me on that one. Thank you. And I appreciate always remembering that I am mom first, YouTuber second, because y'all, I love you, but she's more important than y'all.
were not intimately familiar with the approach path for runway 33 that airliners used. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If you were traveling south on Route 4, how would you know where to look for traffic landing 33?
You'd have to look at the approach end of the runway and then trace backwards to where you believe the aircraft would be coming from.
Okay, so you would extend sort of the center line of runway 33 imaginarily into the
That's a better, more technical way of saying it.
Okay. All right. Were you aware that it was a circling approach?
33 is a circling only?
Mm-hmm.
I was not aware of that.
Okay. And I think you mentioned something about an ILS, maybe an assumption that there was an ILS to 33.
I just assumed most, well, either ILS or GPS, I would assume would be the most approaches that the fixed wing would be doing.
Okay.
Which would imply a straight in approach.
Okay. Dr. Kasner, given some of the limitations we've discussed, foresee and avoid, visual scanning, how can we best support pilots in seeing and avoiding other airborne traffic so they know where and when to monitor?
I would say to start out with a thorough familiarization with the airspace, just this sort of thing that we're discussing here. If there are other approaches, alternative approaches in use, especially circling approaches, have everyone know about that, all types of aircraft. Basically, being intimately familiar with the way business is done in that piece of airspace.
Okay. So you're talking about expectancy and knowing where and when to look by having an accurate mental model of what's going on.
Absolutely.
All right. So an additional redundant layer of protection might involve technological solutions. What is the role of collision avoidance technology?
Okay, that's the second sort of information that we can supply to the see and avoid process, where you're keeping a general vigilance for traffic, but then there happens to be a particular aircraft that you need to look at. So this is a way of providing information about where to look, what direction, what altitude to look, and it's known to be highly effective.
Apparently not that effective, because for some ungodly reason it did not work here. And we still haven't figured out the why, because nobody will answer questions directly. It's always that diffusion of responsibility.
Okay, so there are different types of technologies for supporting traffic awareness. There are cockpit displays of traffic information, and there are traffic alerting systems, some of which provide merely advisory information, some of which provide directive guidance. Can you walk us through those different kinds of technologies and what purpose they serve?
Well, they all essentially inform the visual search process in the same way. Even the controller's advisory that you have traffic at, say, 1 o'clock, 500 above, that tells you where to point your eyes. Good evidence that you can portray that on a cockpit display. Pilots can look down at it and gather the same sort of information, project that flat display in the cockpit into the real world scene. And again, it's very effective. It speeds up the target acquisition on the part of the pilot.
So it aids in knowing where to look for a target.
Yeah, greatly so.
Okay. Even if you have maybe a little bit less than ideal amount of information about where that target should be, such as a vague communication from air traffic control?
Yeah, certainly. It literally tells you where to point your eyes.
Okay. Tell me about traffic alerting and what function that serves.
I guess I don't understand. A verbal alert, are we talking about?
So yeah, many of these traffic displays have both oral and visual alerts that will warn a pilot about traffic that could be a potential threat. From a cognitive standpoint or a perceptual standpoint, what is the purpose of providing those alerts?
Oh, once again, just tell you how to limit your search to the vicinity of the target. It literally tells you where to point that narrow visual flashlight beam that we all have. And we know there's a tremendous speed up associated with that when we do have the information.
Is it fair to say that if you are busy performing other aviation related tasks and you do not detect a potentially threatening target, that an oral alert could draw your attention to the display and indicate to you a threat that you need to search for?
Absolutely. That's its intended purpose.
Okay. And how much more quickly might you find a target if you are provided this type of technology as opposed to just looking for something unaided?
The studies out there generally find about an 8-to-1 speed up. So imagine a target that I would take 8 seconds to find completely unaided. Using a display like this or an alert like this, I can generally find that in 1 second. Or if it would require 16 seconds, I can now maybe see it in 2 seconds. It's amazing.
That is a massive effect. Last question, Dr. Kasner, just wrapping up. You reviewed the docket for this accident investigation extensively. And from a human factors standpoint, do you see any design vulnerabilities in the system as a whole for preventing collisions between helicopters and fixed wing traffic near DCA?
The Army sucks.
Yeah, again, I'd start with the two sorts of information that I gave the opinion that really aid visual search is airspace familiarity. That's huge. Know exactly where the aircraft are. And then, of course, secondly, active use to the extent possible, collision avoidance systems.
Thank you very much. I'll pass the questioning on to Captain Stone.
Thank you, Dr. Bramble. I'm going to follow up Dr. Kasner with one more question. You talked about the importance of see and avoid or having situational awareness of where the traffic is to help.
I'm gonna bite my tongue on that Gulfstream comment because I have thoughts about that, and I know more than I should, and I don't know what I can legally say, so I'm just gonna not address that.
Best way.
Help you.
Huh?
Best way to be.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just not going to touch that one. But I saw it, AP, and I'm not ignoring you. I just can't talk about certain things.
Require the see and avoid. Can you give a comment on the effectiveness of a collision avoidance system, which doesn't rely on see and avoid at all? It provides guidance to the pilot on how to avoid a mid-air collision. So how would you contrast the effectiveness of a system like that versus see and avoid?
So just to clarify, are we talking about a resolution advisory or a traffic advisory?
A resolution advisory.
Okay, well, that's a very different thing. With a traffic advisory, even if you're looking for traffic on a display, it's still see and avoid. You're just seeing it somewhere else. But a resolution advisory, yeah, incredibly effective if it's trained properly. We know that when you get a resolution advisory, and for that to be effective, you need to turn your brain off. You need to not wonder why. You just do it, and that's a difficult thing.
Very, very well said. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to change subjects a little bit. I'm going to go to Dr. Kunze to talk about ADSB, automatic dependent surveillance broadcast. And we've thrown that term around a lot over the last couple of days. And could you just give us a layman's explanation of what is ADSB, out and in?
Yeah, I'll do my best. Automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, as you said, stands for ADSB stands for those words. Every one of those words is actually important. It is automatic in the sense that it automatically broadcasts information that is different than some of the other technologies out there where we rely on the interrogation from a radar on the ground, where then the transponder on board the aircraft replies, and that's how the location of aircraft is being measured. It is dependent because it requires the presence of a high accuracy navigation system. Usually this is a GPS system, but it doesn't have to be. What makes ADSB dependent is that we need that information to populate the fields in the message of ADSB. So if I broadcast my latitude and longitude, my ADSB system doesn't know my latitude and my longitude. I have to get that from somewhere else. So therefore, the system is dependent. It is surveillance. In other words, it isn't engine data. It isn't flight vehicle information system data. It is surveillance data. So latitude, longitude, altitude, velocities, aircraft information from a size and type perspective, flight ID, which is very helpful when you try to identify a particular aircraft. If air traffic control calls out, American Airlines, whatever number, you actually can now identify what aircraft that is being displayed and called out to you. And then lastly, broadcast, because it is broadcasting out that information. We often differentiate between ADSB out and ADSB in. ADSB out is the action of broadcasting this information from an aircraft. ADSB in is the action of then receiving that information on board my own aircraft from anyone else who might be broadcasting it. Now, there's a couple of important points to make here is when we say ADSB in, for example, just receiving the information is only the first step. What's more important is what we do with that data once we have it on the aircraft. We talked about the ability to display it to the pilot for situation awareness. We can use it for issuing alerts. We can use it to improve separation in the air. We can aid air traffic control functions. Yesterday we talked about flow-based, time-based flow management. We can improve spacing between aircraft. And it's really that ability, those applications that we wrap around that data that represents the fundamental transformation opportunity that we have with the air transportation system. Another thing to highlight here is ADSB in is only as good as your ADSB out equipage level. So if people aren't broadcasting, ADSB in isn't very useful. So it really matters that everybody else broadcasts ADSB out messages. And the last thing I highlight, in the United States, we have two frequencies for ADSB. One is called Universal Access Transceiver, or UAT, and the other one is 1090 Extended Squitter, 1090 ES for short. That unfortunately introduces some complexity in the system. So if I am broadcasting on UAT, someone with a 1090 ES system cannot hear my broadcast and vice versa. And so there are some systems on the ground that help with the translation of that, but that is system complexity that makes it difficult for some aircraft to hear others and vice versa.
Thank you.
ADSB is what you would use, or what you're basically using if you go to like Flight Aware or any of those flight trackers. That's what you're using. But these aircraft should also be equipped with IFF. So they should have codes built in that are loaded and a transponder that literally lets someone else know who they are, and the pilot should be able to see that. Just that I can't really talk about too much because some of it's classified, but it's a thing.
And I'm going to go back to the point you made just your second point ago, and that was it's critical how much equipage there is. And I'm going to go to Mr. Haskin and ask, what are the FAA requirements for ADSB out? When were they enacted and where do they apply?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the ADSB requirements came into effect January of 2020, and they apply in various airspaces. I don't know how much detail you're looking for, but they unfortunately get rather complex about the different airspaces we require it. But for instance, certainly in Class B airspace, which is the focus of this hearing, it is a requirement.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to go back to Dr. Kunze, and can you talk about, you introduced kind of ADSB, and one of the most basic levels of how ADSB can be used is the ADSB Traffic Awareness System, or ATAS. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what is it, and how does it work?
Yeah, so one of the benefits of ADSB in is that it allows for a significant improvement in collision avoidance performance, collision avoidance system design. And there's a figure in Exhibit 2-Air-U uniform, page 2, that provides the larger context for collision avoidance systems, if we would be able to pull that up. When we talk about collision avoidance or conflict management more generally, there's an international framework that exists where and this is harmonized via ICAO. So this is a global framework that is used when it comes to keeping aircraft apart from each other. So this is the same in Europe, in Asia, in the United States. It's harmonized via ICAO, the UN body by the name of International Civil Aviation Organization. And it consists of 3 layers. The first layer is meant to keep aircraft apart by structuring the airspace and routes in a way that is inherently safe. That's the first layer. This is not something that really manifests during the flight itself, but it's something that happens primarily before the flight. The second layer is ATC separation or remain well clear actions by the pilot during the flight. We talked about this a lot yesterday. So our conflict probe, our air traffic control separation support is that middle layer. And then the last layer is the collision avoidance layer. So this is now the pilot, where the middle layer is air traffic control. The last layer is legally, squarely the responsibility of the pilot. And as Dr. Kasner said, this last layer is hard for the pilot to do just by vision. The see and avoid requirement there is hard. And so over the years, we've developed a large number of systems that support the pilot in the task of the visual acquisition or the avoidance of other aircraft. And those systems, they fall into two categories. We already mentioned them. The first category is a traffic alerting system. So this provides alerts to the pilot on where the aircraft is. It's usually what we call a yellow level alert. So it's a caution, which requires immediate attention by the pilot, but the pilot still needs to determine whether an action is actually necessary. And then the second category of systems is a collision avoidance system, which also provides an escape maneuver. So those are usually red level alerts, immediate attention by the pilot, immediate action by the pilot. And as I mentioned, it's directive. So it tells the pilot how to avoid a hazard or a conflict in midair. So this existed all before the introduction of ADSB. And it used a lot of the sensors that are used in these systems are effectively 1980s technology. So they ping, they interrogate other aircraft, they wait for a reply, they time how long that takes. That gives you an estimate of range. You watch range over time, and you can tell whether the aircraft is getting closer or not. Mind you, when you have range, you don't know if the aircraft is in front of you or behind you or wherever. You just have range. You have range rate by watching it over time. And in the reply from the aircraft, you get altitude. So you have three parameters: range, range rate, and altitude. And that's the information you have to decide whether you're going to avoid or try to do something about this aircraft in your vicinity. And this is where actually a lot of these systems struggle, because what you do when you design these types of systems, when you have that limited amount of information, you have to have fairly large protection values around the aircraft, because you don't really know where they are. And so these systems work well in a en route environment where aircraft are naturally far apart. But as aircraft get closer to each other in a terminal environment, these systems tend to have fairly large rates of undesirable alerts. They alert on aircraft that you know they are there, or air traffic control is providing separation. So you don't really want to hear alerts continuously as you get closer and closer to the airport. And this is where the introduction of ADSB really provides a significant improvement. You go from this very large volume around other aircraft to a very small, constrained environment where you now know latitude and longitude. Rather than a relative measurement, I have an absolute measurement. I know latitude, longitude, I know velocity, I know geometric altitude, I know pressure altitude, I know type of aircraft, I know direction because I know the heading of the aircraft. So now all of a sudden, we have an exquisite set of data that allows us to do alerting in ways that before we weren't able to do. So that allowed us, this was the genesis of the ATAS program, the Airborne Traffic Alerting System program. I was a grad student at the time at MIT, and the FAA, realizing this opportunity, came to MIT and asked if we would be willing to help them in the development of this first ADSB-based collision alerting system. So to be clear, this is that first category. This is a traffic alerting system, not an avoidance system, a traffic alerting system. And so we started out with looking at the 10 years prior, all the mid-air collisions that had happened, to understand the dynamics, to understand the risk factors that actually lead to mid-air collisions.
Huh?
Nothing.
Oh.
I just said, wait, they have brains?
Yeah, that's you have to have a brain in order to turn it off. I mean, I guess that's where the Army has something over the Marines. I mean,
that's why they made crayons with different colors.
That's why they have to write the name of the color on the crayon.
Yes.
I never thought about it like that.
I know that I am going to get it in the neck by you guys, so I'm here.
All the Marines are going to come in here like, what the hell? You talked about crayon eaters and didn't tell us?
Yeah. I'm expecting it.
Not much of. I mean, I don't know. This is very technical, but and they're asking very technical questions, and this is where it's going to get a little mundane and kind of boring. However, it's one of those situations where you not only have to listen to the answer that's being provided, but look at everybody else's faces when somebody's answering a question, and you can kind of tell just by the looks on their faces whether that's new information to them or something's not quite kosher.
And just for the record, right? I will only say 2 words if I get asked about my comment just now, and I've just put it into chat. Plausible deniability. I know I'm a gasol.
I mean, this is a very technical panel, and talking about collision avoidance systems is very. I don't think this is going to be where.
I don't think it's necessary, to be perfectly honest with you, because like all the technical information, yes, sit on the panel, talk about it.
Speaking of crayon eaters,
I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Sitting on a panel talking about it into plausible deniability, sitting on the panel, right, talking about technical stuff to a point where only a select few will understand what you're talking about, where there's other people like the families, other people report. They should stick to the facts and not go into, not like derail off into technical jargon where other people won't understand or find the connection between each individual problem.
Well, I understand that the NTSB, in order to be fully transparent and make sure that they never get accused of not investigating all possibilities, I understand why they have to do it. I just don't think that this is actually has anything to do with the cause of the crash, except for the fact that pilots, not just Army pilots, not just civilian pilots, but all pilots, get sick of all of the warnings when they know they're on approach. Like they know they're going to get warnings and they tune them out. And that it's like the boy who cried wolf. When you get so many notifications, you're going to miss the one that actually matters. And I think that might have been the only thing where the collision avoidance systems have anything to do with this. But that's about it. AP said I was going to go into the Marines to be a sniper, or wanted to be, I should say. One of Mr. Squid's good friends from work was a sniper. That's who he goes to the range with all the time when he doesn't go with me.
Factual words, Chris Kyle stated, and these are factual words. He says, if it's breathing, I can hit it.
All right, I am going to restart this, and I am going to go check on my toddler because she went to leave the room to get an ice pack because she bumped her knee on her trampoline, and now she's yelling. So we're going to go figure out what she's doing.
Your knee or Baby Squid did?
Baby Squid hit her knee on the edge of her trampoline. So she went to go get an ice pack. And now I heard the freezer open and I heard her yelling. So I'm going to go figure out because now everything is a national tragedy. Like, the freezer door closed a little faster than I wanted it to. It's a national tragedy.
Hence why I use the words plausible deniability.
Everything with her requires tears and intervention from somebody. So I'm going to go make sure that my house is not burning down. And same before my immune disorder destroyed my life. Yeah, well, my problem started after. So that's where my problem started, is after.
Do you need the National Guard? Before you go off and go and deal with that international incident, do you need the National Guard to be called in on this one?
I do not. I have an orderly. He will fix everything when he gets home.
Okay, right, okay. I'm just making sure that we all are on the same page.
Yes. If you ain't ordnance, you ain't shit.
DEFCON
He's got it tattooed on his arm.
You know what you should do? You should get yourself a sign behind you, lit up, like when it all kicks off with Littlin, you go from DEFCON 5 to 4 to 3 to 2, and then when it gets to 1, it's like, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll put it right here. Yeah. Okay, I gotta go. I'm gonna restart this, and I will be back in a hot minute.
And I'll mute myself so I don't upset people laughing and giggling.
In fact, if you pull up slide probably 3 on that same exhibit, the high level results of how major collisions happened, it was 112 NTSB reports that we reviewed for this. You can see on the left where the major collisions actually happen. And much to my surprise, at least initially, almost 2/3 of major collisions happen in the immediate vicinity of the airport. And then about the last third is away from the airport. And the geometry between those collisions is oftentimes aircraft going in the same direction. And so this was very informative because it allowed us to identify geometries that mattered from a design perspective in this ATAS system, and ultimately derive system requirements that drove the design for how to do collision alerting in the airport environment where existing collision alerting systems at the time just had limited performance. And so from there, we went did a large amount of flight tests. We did algorithm system development. In fact, the FAA's tech center helped us to fly helicopters. We did encounters between helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, two fixed-wing aircraft approaching the same runway, small airplanes, fast airplanes, big airplanes, all the full trade space. That ultimately resulted in an RTCA standard. So this has been standardized. It has been harmonized with Europe. We have certified these systems, built them. There are thousands of them in the field. And as far as we know, there's currently, there hasn't been any one of those systems that has been involved in a major collision, as far as we can tell, ever since we introduced this. And so the introduction of ATAS, the air traffic alerting system, has fixed that hole that we had in collision avoidance systems where they had less performance in the terminal environment. We're still working on the ACAS version, which is the collision avoidance, the directive, the category 2 system. That's in work, but the ATAS system was finished on an FAA program about 10 years ago.
Great, thank you very much. And with that introduction, I'm gonna turn it over to Captain McKinney, and he's going to talk about what the Army helicopter had on their aircraft.
Yes, that's correct. I'm going to focus on the traffic information technology available to the helicopter crew. So this question will be for Mr. Van Vechten, please. What types of traffic alerting systems were available to the helicopter crew?
Organic to the helicopter, none.
Okay, but they did have a electronic flight bag?
So electronic flight bag would include a personal electronic device such as an iPad, and that alone does not provide any type of traffic collision avoidance. It must be paired with another external device such as a Stratus.
Okay, and we know that the 12th Battalion had Stratus available to the air crews.
Yes, they were available.
Right, and we do believe they had a Stratus on board. Could you just describe all the capabilities of an electronic flight bag?
Sure. The electronic flight bag is primarily used as a digital flight information publication bag. So all of our publications that are required for flight, we can use it for a digital moving map. So in the Lima, where there's not organic multifunctional displays or MFDs with a moving map, we can use it for that. But it does have its limitations as well. We cannot use it for primary means of navigation. It can assist, but it's not supposed to be primarily used for situational awareness. It's not to be referenced by the pilot on the controls. And it does have its limitations. So I brought one with me. You can kind of see it. It kind of glares. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but one of the major limitations, especially while flying goggles and NVGs, it obviously produces light because it's lit up as a screen, and that can reflect off the pilot's windscreen and prevent you from actually being able to see outside.
Oh, that's interesting. Does each pilot carry a iPad EFB with them?
At least 2 are on each flight.
Okay. How about
nice answer?
Sometimes if I'm doing an intro.
Really good answer on that one.
Huh?
That there was the perfect explanation, and that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I wanted someone to actually say about glare off the windscreen, because it's bad enough using NVGs, and with the light outside yeah, that was a freaking good answer there, buddy.
I mean, every once in a while you actually get one.
I like him. Can we keep him?
What, Kasner?
Yeah, can we keep him? I think he's a fantastic CW4.
Oh, this dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. He's all right.
And who's the miserable git sitting next to him? He looks like he's had a carrot put up his bottom.
I don't know. He's the guy that only he's the guy that only spoke a couple of times. That first panel, he was I think he was sitting next to that freaking colonel.
Oh, right, because I mean, right now his face expression is like he's about to have a wet fart, or he's trying to avoid eye contact with someone.
He looks like his boyfriend just cheated on him.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't relate, but yeah, probably. Little girl, don't start.
And Jeffrey, I believe that there are a couple of people on here who genuinely answer questions to the best of their ability, but they generally don't work for the FAA.
Isn't that always the case? If it's a civvy, they answer when a civvy versus military. The civvy will always answer fucking like razor blades. If you're not in the same department, of course he's gonna say it as it is. He's not gonna sit there and play around. I mean, at the end of the day, he even brought the bloody thing with him. So
yeah, and every once in a while, I think that you get an answer. And it's really telling if you pay attention to the people who are on the panel who are from the FAA. When other people are answering questions, pay attention to their faces. It's hilarious because it's like, I don't want you to answer that. Like, yes, the panel from the previous day when that one woman, Mandy, was talking and she was trying to answer a question, and then that Nick Fuller looked at her like, don't you answer that. Then she was like, I gotta stop talking because, you know, I can't fully answer your question because he won't let me. It's something.
Hang on a minute. I just seen your kicker. I just read your ticker.
Yeah.
I thought, shit, what have I done now?
You didn't do anything.
Spawn is collaborating. I'm not collaborating. I don't.
Yes, you are. You've collaborated with me every Wednesday for the past like 3 months.
Well, I'm glad that we don't live in 1942. So, and we don't live in Jersey or Guernsey. You are a collaborator. Put him against the wall and shoot him with a blank. No, I'm sorry. Can we carry on, please, before I get carried away? It's like, you get here. Whoa.
Stop.
Sorry. The thing is, at the end of the day, right, you're going to see night and day. No, you're going to see night and day when it comes to answers about certain things, especially from that guy in the background and the civvies. There's always going to be unfortunately, there's going to be a disconnect between what they're saying and what the civvies are like Spartan. They're like automated. Where when it comes to the military, doesn't want to blame. No, let me just give you the impression. He's like, let me just do the voiceover on his brain. Okay, right. If I just sit here and just act like I'm not doing anything. Oh, sorry. Oh, shit. No, keep talking, WL. Keep talking, Warren. Oh shit. And the guy next to him, to his other side, is going, "Oh my god, the smell!" Sorry.
On that note,
instrument flights where I don't necessarily need my iPad in flight as much. We may pass one back. So while the pilot on the controls is flying, maintaining altitude, heading and airspeed, we will give the iPad to the crew chief in the back that can assist with airspace surveillance. And at altitude, we probably would have an ADSB in via the Stratus device.
Right. And you're not required to have the traffic or map display up all the time, right? You could have other types of information on the iPad being displayed when you're flying, such as a airport reference or approach plate or something like that.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. But the ForeFlight does, and ForeFlight is the electronic flight bag that the Army uses.
No, it's not required to use a specific application. ForeFlight typically is the go-to application, though.
Okay, and the 12th Battalion was using ForeFlight on their iPads?
Yes, they were. They had a battalion ForeFlight account.
That's right. Okay. So if the flight crew had ForeFlight and the map was displayed, would that display provide any type of traffic awareness or alerting?
If it was paired to a Stratus device, you may see ADSB in data on your iPad via the icons.
Mm-hmm. And do air crews typically use it as a primary source of traffic identification?
No, we're not supposed to use that. It's prohibited from using as primary source of airspace deconfliction.
Okay. And typically, where do the pilot or co-pilot air crew keep the iPad during flight?
If it's being utilized, it's usually strapped to either the left or the right leg. It can be stowed in the door map pocket. It can be stored there. It can be in your pubs bag, which would be down by your side where it's readily available. We're not supposed to place it on the center console or have it unsecured or unstowed at any time. So usually the pilot on the controls would hit the button to turn off the screen so that it's not blinding you. And then if the pilot not on the controls needed it, they would be referencing it from one of their legs.
Okay. And
that's
what
what she
covered
said.
this a little bit, but are there challenges and limitations using this equipment for traffic awareness and identification?
Well, yes, particularly while on the DC Helo routes, it's advised not to use it because we're flying VFR. So pilots' eyes should primarily be outside, especially when you're at low level, especially when you're under night vision goggles.
Mm-hmm. And the iPad, would that be even part of the scan for the flying pilot?
No, it's for the flying pilot. Absolutely not. It says shall not be referenced by the pilot on the controls.
Okay. And in your experience, how often have you noticed a ForeFlight traffic alert on the iPad?
Yes, we talked about this. So rarely, almost never. It happened once coming off of Baltimore, passing by Martin State. I got the little icon turned red and it kind of surprised me. So I took a screenshot of it and that's what I sent you because I'd never seen that before.
Right. And, for something like that, would you report that to the safety officer of your unit?
No, I was in comms with Martin State. They told me about the aircraft. I saw it. I think it got within 600 feet of going below me. I was on the helicopter route going from Baltimore to Aberdeen Proving Ground, and they were on the final approach course for the runway into Martin State. So we were all talking to tower. I was aware of them, and it wasn't unsafe. It was, I think, like I said, 600 feet below me.
Okay, thank you. And if you're using ForeFlight and you have a different page up, not the map, would you get a traffic alert on that page?
No, I don't believe so.
I have to go retrieve more chocolate milk from the fridge. Be right back.
We talked a little bit about the UH-60 Mike model, so that's quite a bit different than the 60 Lima model. Does the UH-60 Mike model have any type of traffic awareness technology on board?
So the Mike doesn't. There are 6 of the 8 Mike models at Fort Belvoir that are equipped with TCAS. I had never used it. It's not in the operator's manual. I've never been trained on it. I recently started talking to pilots and they are starting to use it now. But other than those 6 Blackhawks in my 22 plus years of flying the 60, I've never seen TCAS.
Okay, so those 6, that's an additional equipment that's been installed on those particular aircraft. It's not fleet-wide, is that correct?
That's correct. And they have an AWR specific to those 6 tail numbers.
Okay, and the pilots flying those, are they being trained on that TCAS system?
When I was there, no, we did not turn it on. We did not utilize it. It was not in our operator's manual.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Captain Stone.
Thank you. I'm going to shift gears slightly to air carrier operations, and I'm going to go to Captain Surge. We've been talking about ADSB in and the ADSB in displays, and what I'd like you to do is to talk a little bit about the difference, because the basic traffic alert and collision avoidance system, or TCAS, has a traffic display. What makes the display that you are pioneering on your Airbus fleet different from the standard TCAS display?
Sure. If we could pull up exhibit 2 Air Whiskey. And I think that was the slide.
That was it.
Yesterday, they were asked about if they still feel safe flying, and they all said yes.
Thank you. So in this slide right here, you can see the differences between a what we call a navigational display that has TCAS on the left, and on the right, what we call this the aircraft guidance display. And between the two, there's differences. On the TCAS, you don't get directionality. So the arrows that you see on the screen are not the direction of the aircraft. It is just the fact that it's either climbing or descending. I can't tell you what direction those aircraft are going. But if I look on the right side, I can see the directionality of my aircraft in relationship to the directionality of the aircraft around me. I can see the range. In this case, it's at 2.5. And then I can also see that the flight ID. So I can positively identify the aircraft that are around me with a flight ID plus altitude to my altitude relational.
So let me follow up with, how would you contrast visually acquiring a target with your guidance display versus a standard TCAS display?
Well, this aircraft guidance display gives me instant information about the aircraft around me so that I can make different decisions. In this case, had the helicopter had this in front in their forward view and able to use this, and had the controller given the clearance pass behind 5342. If 5342 was up there, I could have positively identified 5342.
Before you talk, just so you know, NKS is Spirit Airlines Flight 627. So I just thought I'd...
Just a quick, can I just mention something? I find it quite interesting, the fact that that warrant officer explained about the TCAS and everything else, right? And that they're not trained on it, but, because of the manual and stuff like that, right? I'm surprised that like all these aircraft don't have all the up-to-date equipment in the aircraft. I'm not pushing the blame onto them, but I find it very interesting that when they go through flight training and everything else, they're not trained up on every single thing, including TCAS. And the second point is that they don't have, from listening to this, they don't have the up-to-date equipment to fly safely. I'm not saying they don't fly safely. I'm just talking about, the TCAS and everything else.
Well, we would, it's all about when your aircraft get updated and modified. Like every once in a while, we would send an aircraft off. We had 4 aircraft. We would get one that we had 600 through 603, but we would get a 604 and we would send one of our other aircraft off to be upgraded. Mm-hmm. Certain systems would be upgraded, certain modifications had to be made, and then we get that aircraft back
Yeah.
and then we'd eventually send another one off. So not every aircraft was we had 4, not even all of our 4 were the same. So it's all about timing, money, training schedule, deployment schedule. Like you'll have so many things to consider with all of what's in an aircraft.
Right. Well, here comes my argument then. Right. I mean, we're both veterans. We've both been in the military. We both know when you go on a course to do a course for maybe mechanical or anything else, or like like drill instructor, marksman, sniper courses, or any type of thing like infantry or right. When we go there, we get taught from A to Z. We get taught everything about that. Now, when it comes to now, I'm not a pilot. I can't speak. I'm not a subject expert, as it says on my title, right? But the thing is, when you do your training in the military, especially when it comes to stuff like night vision and stuff like that, you get trained on that stuff. Now, when it comes to becoming a pilot, all right, in the military, they're very special in brackets when it comes to training. They make it like you cross your T, you dot your I's, and everything else. However, when it comes to the end, and I'm not saying this happens in every department, but there's always an open book test. And basically, the only time you will fail a course in the military is if if the liability is so bad that you would actually get yourself or other people unalive, and that's when they'll fail you and RTU you, return to unit. My question is this: regardless of like how long they've had these aircraft, like I know that active service they get brand spanking new aircraft, or it's upgraded quicker than in National Guard stuff over in the States. And I'm just balling one here now. Why is this stuff not introduced into the aircraft, and why are people not being trained on this?
Well, the one on the right.
Wait, what?
Like what? When you say this, what do you?
No, the thing is, like he says that, like when they train, they don't get trained on the TCAS. But the TCAS is part of an aircraft. It's part of the flight. It's part of flying.
Because the Army sucks.
This is where the problem is. And they say, if like going back to you saying about the financial side of it, I mean, how much does the military in the United States each year, how much are they budgeted towards the DoD? I mean, if you got like, fucking, let's say $7 billion, you're telling me that like a $40 or $50 or $100,000 piece of equipment that could actually like save your life is irrelevant. This is where I'm having an issue with this.
Well, and this is part of when you're dealing with other helos and you're dealing with only Army aircraft, they might not see it as an issue in the sense of when you're dealing with your same kind of aircraft, so to speak, and you're not crossing paths with things that it's hard for me to explain. But like when you're not dealing with larger aircraft and you're only working with your fleet of Blackhawks, and when you know that you fly, you're generally going to be the only Blackhawk in the sky because of what you're doing. Or you're going to be dealing with other helos, and you get the rotor wash before you get the, before you're close enough to impact each other. So the TCAS, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying as far as Army goes, if you're not dealing with, if you're a Blackhawk pilot and you're not dealing with any other kind of aircraft, it might be low on the totem pole. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying by any means. I'm just trying to maybe think of reasons that it happens. I don't know. I worked on fixed wings. I don't know. We're smarter than helo people.
Right. Here's my right. I'm going to throw something in the works here. Now, I know that. I mean, it sounds like that. Right. I would love for someone. I don't care who it is. I would love someone to take the equivalent of a military up to date today, a military UH-60, Mike, whatever aircraft, and take a picture of their cockpit, and then go and have a look at Heavy Diesel's Black Hawk helicopter and have a look at that cockpit. Right, and then ask, and then someone contact Heavy Diesel, you know, Dave or whatever his name is, and then contact the media representative, media officers from that unit, and say, and trying to find out to compare how much it would cost, or how much did Heavy Diesel pay for his Black Hawk to be upgraded with a TCAS in it, and the Army, the aircraft you got, because like somewhere something is missing, and I can't put my finger on it. It's either they're not given the money to upgrade their aircraft, or they don't want to upgrade it, because at the end of the day, most of the flying is done and operational.
And like I said, also, like, we upgraded one at a time. So not all 4 of our aircraft were the same. So the pilots would fly, say you had 2 pilots that flew together one day and then flew in a different aircraft together the same day or the next day. It would be, they'd have different issues with the different planes because there's different systems. So it's not just they're not being upgraded. They might be being upgraded, but one is being upgraded. Like, they got a fleet of 10 aircraft in your squadron. One, you just so happen to have the only one that's not upgraded yet.
Right. Let me ask you a question. That guy said he had 6 UH-64 mic variations. So what are the letters for? Is it modernization, or is it because they have different? Because obviously you've got a little bit more experience on the different names. You know, like, you know, if you got UH-64 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way up to M. You know, I mean, obviously they use phonetic alphabet, so they're going to sort of call it, you know, like Foxtrot, Mike, Delta, Alpha, Bravo. What's the big difference between the Mike variation of the UH-64 and the Alpha variation, or the Foxtrot variation? What's the?
I have absolutely no idea.
Right.
It could be anything from an airframe change to a like, say, the F-18. You get the F-18C, which is a 1-seater. You get the F-18Es and Alpha or Echoes and Foxtrots that are 2-seaters. So like it could be an airframe change, a mission change, because now you went from the 1-seater to now you have 2 people. You have a completely different mission because you have a second person. So it could be anything. It could be a modification to the weapons, because it's Army. You have a door gunner.
Right. So basically, the designation.
It could be anything. I honestly could not give you an accurate. I'm just spitballing ideas of what it could be. I'm sure before the chat or replay people or Army people decide to fact check me, I am not accurate in any of these answers. I'm just spitballing ideas of what it could be in theory.
Right. So basically, like, you know, each letter behind the actual aircraft could mean that, you know, from Alpha to Zulu, that mean that aircraft has had some sort of like change or different equipment. It could be air refuel or medical. It could be anything. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And you can get upgrades to systems without actually changing the model. Because I worked on the E2C. Like we had the E2C, we still had E2Cs when we got them back with upgraded systems or modifications. So it really, and this was 20 years ago, so I can't exactly speak to what all things would change. And sometimes, and I worked on a lot of classified stuff, so I also can't get into some of the systems that I worked on because they're secret squirrel stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because we're talking about this. Like, you know, I mean, we spoke about the financial side, about the FAA, about, you know, upgrading equipment, how long it's going to take, you know, I mean, well, from what they're saying, up to 2040. So 2040, and with all the money that's going into updating the FAA, the equipment, ATCs and stuff like that, why are they not doing the same with these aircraft, with the military aircraft, because I mean, I don't want to derail this.
Different. The only thing I can say to that is different system, because you're dealing now with the Department of Defense and not the FAA.
Right.
So you're dealing with a completely new bureaucracy and a whole bunch of bullshit and red tape with them sticks.
Yeah, but that, if I was at CW4, that guy who was talking with the little tablet, I mean, that would be the question I would be throwing back to my chain of command and say, why are we not upgrading? Update, why are we not
and I'm sure he has absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
That's above his pay grade.
Yeah. But anyway, let's carry on. I do apologize for taking this a little bit away. It's just that it's basically, the attitude is if it's not broken, don't fix it. But here, fixing it would actually solve some of the problems that are being brought up in this NTSB report.
You good? Okay.
Hello, darling.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And the helicopter would have known at that point that it was going directly towards that aircraft and needed to do a slight left turn.
And you could say the same thing for the aircraft. If they had this display, they would instantly know that the traffic was headed straight for them, as opposed to out in front of them somewhere. Is that?
So this is not a traffic collision avoidance tool, like Dr. Kunze had talked about. This is more in the realm of helping the controller find where or helping the controller give clearances, and with those clearances, the pilots can make better decisions. So in this case, for the PSA aircraft, it was on a short final. Their attention would have been outside of the aircraft, looking at the runway. And so in this case, at that point in time, I would not consider this a tool that would effectively avoid a collision, just given the facts of this collision.
Okay, let's shift gears again a little bit to the last couple of days.
I have to interject my 2 cents. He was talking about it from the CRJ's perspective, in the sense of it would not effectively have solved or avoided the collision. I get it. This system is being tested on the French company. What Frontier uses them? Not Boeing, but the other company. Oh, now I'm having a brain fart. Can't even think of simple aircraft names. However, they are being tested on Airbuses. What about this being in the Hilo? It's not all about the CRJ and all about civilian aircraft. If this was in the Hilo, that would have solved a whole bunch of freaking problems too. Like, yes, but it would if the Hilo had it. And thank you, poor Marine. I couldn't, for some reason, Airbus, like I could see an A320, because that was the last aircraft that I loaded before I quit. I could see the inside of a bin and an A320. I just could not think of the manufacturer for some reason. It was holy brain fart. My brain was buffering like Spawn yesterday. But hey, Snipe Hunter, how are you? But Chris, that's the comment that I was trying to come up with before my brain started buffering. But it would have helped if the Hilo had it. It's not all about the damn CRJ. It's about the damn Hilo, because the CRJ was on final. You really can't do a whole lot when you're on final. A CRJ doesn't have the agility that that a Blackhawk does. I'm just pointing it out there. I don't know if any of y'all need a physics lesson, but a CRJ versus the Hilo, one is a hell of a lot more agile and can make quick changes of direction, and one can't. Just a thought. Yeah, thank you. This Spawn, you're not the only one who has a brain buffer problem. All right, getting back to this, I just had to when he said that, I wanted to be like, sometimes, when you just got to come back at somebody like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? That was one of those moments.
Who stole my brain buffer? Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about the time-based flow management and how that works with air traffic control. And can you describe, as it is today, the pilot's role in time-based flow management?
Sure. Pretty much a pilot's role is nothing. We don't do anything when it comes to that.
Okay, so basically,
Nada. None of our business. It's a you problem.
you're going to get controller instructions to maintain a speed or fly heading if you need to do a path stretch or something like that. So basically, you're not involved in traffic flow management at all in today's world. And so my next question is, with the system that you have on your aircraft, do you have the ability to be a participant in the traffic flow management system, and how do you do that? How could it work?
Correct. And if you pull up the same exhibit, slide 5, one more. Perfect. So this is the beauty of this technology, and that is that today a pilot is pretty much blind to their surroundings and to what's going on, and the controller leads them by the hand and tells them what to do, and the pilot does it. In this system, now the pilot becomes engaged with what the controller actually wants, and because of that, you can achieve spacing goals that you cannot achieve with TBFM alone. So if you look at the slides on the left, you'll see the top slide, it says 4 non-IM aircraft. Those aircraft were coming into Phoenix, Arizona on the trial that we performed between American and the FAA. And you can see the spacing in those aircraft. And then if you go to the second slide and you look on the left side, you can see those 3 aircraft as they went down the Eagle arrival. And their spacing is 5.8, 7.6, 6.4. If you go to the other on the slide 2, still on the right-hand side, you'll see those are 4 IM aircraft that are just starting to get lined up. Same controller working all of those aircraft.
And can you tell us what IM is?
I'm sorry about that. Interval management is IM. On the third slide, you'll see that those IM, interval management aircraft, the spacing of those aircraft is much more consistent, and it leads to better predictable spacing within the NAS. This is the extent of our trial and how far we were able to get. Unfortunately, the funding for that trial has been discontinued, and we were not able to continue the research that we were doing. And so the next step would be that we integrate TBFM sequencing so that the aircraft would have the necessary spacing. So when they enter the terminal area, the controller now, we could actually set it up where we would have breaks in this traffic so that they can sequence another class stream in the terminal area. So what we're trying to do with this technology is take the actual workload and start to bring it out into the en route part of the flight where it's not as busy, and setting up the terminal controller so that their job is easier, the sequencing in that airspace.
Great. On the right part of the display, you've got the guidance display. So how does the pilot maintain the spacing that air traffic control is assigning?
It's fairly simple. I've done quite a few of these over the last couple of years, and all I do is I follow that commanded speed. So that 210, that's all I have to do. So I go into, for my aircraft, it's called the FCU. I reach up, I select 210, and I'm done.
Okay, very good. And so your trial basically ended.
And Malin, they do have higher people sitting over them. They all have bosses. They all have superior officers and stuff like that. They are just the people who are picked either for their expertise in a particular area and or their role at the time of the crash. Like the warrant officer, he's a pilot. I'm sure there were 3 or 4 pilots who probably have flown this route enough times. He was probably the one that said, I can speak on it. I'm confident with it. He probably had the most knowledge, so they picked him, kind of a situation. And I can't imagine it's much different for the other people. The only other people who are on these panels are people who were in a certain role at the time of the crash and have a knowledge that nobody else would have. Like the operations manager of ATC. He didn't have all the answers, but he was in that role at the time of the crash. So therefore, you're on the hot seat, bud. Have fun. Yeah, they drew the short straw. Yes. Gail, you bring up a really good point.
At the approach control boundary of the TRACON boundary, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to extend this a little bit further in the future. Is there an end state to this technology that we can run the airspace in a different way to achieve, a better, safer, more efficient spacing?
Yes, there absolutely is. And that's called flight interval management. And as we start to develop these technologies, again, it has the ability to look out hundreds of miles around the airport as flights are coming into this airport and it has the ability to sequence and space these aircraft in such a way that what we call, we achieve very high RNAV conformances. You can only achieve this type of spacing and sequencing with a flight system that is looking at the winds on our aircraft. As you know, we have laser gyros, and they are able to give us exact speed information, and that information then is ingested into the algorithms in the box to produce the proper command speed.
And my last question on this, it's the FAA is about to invest a large amount of money in upgrading their infrastructure very appropriately, I think. Do you know, do their future plans include putting a role for the aircraft in this traffic flow management arena, or do you know if they are planning to upgrade and continue operating the system as is?
I think we're just starting to look at the funding, and I have not been told that any of the funding will be directed towards this, but I'm hopeful that it will be.
Okay, appreciate that. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Flynn, who's going to talk a little bit about the TCAS systems.
Hi, Mr. Haskins, can you tell us what are the current requirements for collision avoidance systems?
Yes, so I'll start with the transponder. The transponder is a fundamental part of the collision avoidance system, and that is required really in the same airspace as ADS-B is required. And so for the purposes of this, I'll say it's required for all aircraft in Class B airspace. The actual collision avoidance systems themselves are not airspace dependent, but rather what operation you're conducting, what part you're conducting your operation under. So for Part 121, 125, and 129 aircraft, the TCAS 2 requirements are basically the same. And what they are is that if you have a turbine-powered airplane of more than 33,000 pounds maximum certificated takeoff weight, you have basically three methods of compliance to the TCAS rule. The first is having a TCAS 2 system that's version 7.0 or later. The second is we allow a TCAS 2 system of 6.04 if it was installed in your airplane before May 1st, 2003. And then the third is you can have a collision avoidance system that's capable of coordinating with units that are 6.04 capable.
Can you describe the differences between the 6.4 and the 7.1, 7.2?
So
basically the three versions of
that guy on the left, the bald guy that was scratching his head, was like, I'm just done. Like, I'm done with this all. Like, get me out of here.
As are 6.04, 7.0, and 7.1. Different capabilities were added over time. I think some of my other colleagues, Mr. Suki or Dr. Olson, can probably speak to the differences in the development of those different versions better than I could.
Yes. 604 Alpha, the first iteration of collision avoidance introduced in the early 90s. Great performance, but as you roll out technology and get some experience with it, you realize there are some tweaks and modifications needed for extending from 604 Alpha to 7. Several change proposals were introduced. I mean, there were hundreds introduced into version 7, specifically to deal with nuisance alerting, a matter that we've been talking about a lot lately. So what really aided in 7 was the introduction of sense reversal logic, the introduction of horizontal misdistance filter, and then lastly, a real big one was the introduction of RVSM airspace and the tolerances associated with alerting at higher levels. And then when we go from 7 to 7.1, there were two changes, primary changes, specifically dealing with the Uberling incident where sense reversal logic was extended, or there's a sort of relationship between paired aircraft to TCAS equipped aircraft. There was a reversal logic for the master aircraft. There were modifications to the slave reversal logic, and then also to the adjust vertical speed adjust enunciations where it required a reduction in vertical speed. We removed that to where it was just a simple level off 0 command.
Thank you. Next question is for Mr. Flanagan. What are the Army requirements for collision avoidance systems?
So currently we don't have requirements on aircraft, but we have emerging operational needs because of the airspace we operate in that's inherently congested, low altitude, and that requires us to look at the emerging ACAS-X aircraft collision avoidance system X software, which we're evaluating.
And I guess Mr. Olson or Mr. Sushi, are there differences in TCAS for a helicopter versus an airplane?
Here we go.
Certainly. So today, helicopters are equipping with TCAS 2.
And there are no modifications to TCAS 2 for helicopters. Now, typically they do not meet the vertical climb requirements of 1,500 feet per minute. There probably also may not be able to achieve the anticipated G loading during the response. And it's also the case that many helicopter operations occur below 1,000 feet AGL. And as we'll discuss later in this panel, I'm sure TCAS resolution advisories are inhibited below roughly 1,000 feet AGL. It also does not consider terrain or obstructions. So the FAA, and I believe that Mr. Suki will talk about this later, is developing ACAS XR, as mentioned by the Army, but that's specifically being designed for rotorcraft to operate and provide resolution advisories below 1,000 feet AGL to consider terrain obstructions when generating those maneuver guidance, and also to provide horizontal maneuvers in addition to vertical maneuvers to accommodate the lower vertical rate and be specifically tuned for that operational environment.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Captain Stone.
Thank you. And I'm going to continue with you, Dr. Olson. Dr. Kunze actually gave a very good explanation of kind of the differences between the situational awareness system and ATAS and a collision avoidance system. And but I'd like to just have you go over really quickly how does the collision avoidance system, the current collision avoidance system, TCAS, work?
Certainly. So the existing TCAS system works primarily by first developing a picture of where the other aircraft nearby, we call that surveillance. So it sends an interrogation to the transponder on nearby aircraft, much like a toll transponder in your car, and those aircraft respond with their altitude. And based on, as Dr. Kunze described, the time of arrival, you can generate range and range rate. TCAS 2 also has a directional antenna, so you can estimate bearing nominally to plus or minus 9 degrees. And TCAS has very extensive heuristic logic, so if-then rules. If this happens, then the system should do that. It also has what we call trackers to take that information and not just say it's a bunch of dots, but to connect those dots into a track. So understanding that this is one aircraft operating. And based on those heuristic rules, based on the altitude of the aircraft, either above ground altitude or MSL, mean sea level altitude, it adjusts its alerting sensitivity, so how far away those aircraft are going to be. And it generates either traffic advisories, TAs, and this is based on a linear projection of my own ship trajectory as well as that other aircraft. And I should say this cycle of interrogation and replies is once per second. So every second it updates the picture. It uses those rules to say, should I issue an alert or should I not? The first level of alerting is a caution alert. So that alert would tell the pilot the intended function is to have the pilot visually acquire the other traffic, to look out the window based on the traffic display, and also to prepare to respond. So quite often air carrier type aircraft, and I would also say the business jet aircraft, even though they're not required, as Mr. Haskins said, to equip, almost all of them have for insurance reasons. So they would perhaps disengage the autopilot or at least be prepared to do that to respond to the resolution advisory. If the range and range rate meet certain thresholds, then TCAS would see the need to generate a resolution advisory that would tell pilots to climb or descend, or to stop climbing or descending to mitigate that potential mid-air collision. And in doing so, TCAS would first determine should the aircraft move in an upward direction or should the own aircraft maneuver in a downward direction. And then once it decides that, it decides whether or not, or the strength of that maneuver should be it to simply tell pilots to monitor their vertical speed, that is not to change their vertical profile or not to descend or climb as the case might be. It might be that level off RA that Mr. Suki talked about, or in the older version.
So long story short, it tells you how fast to go and which direction to go. You need to go up really fast. You need to go down really fast. You need to stay where you're at and not change your altitude. It seems like it's kind of common sense, and he's taking 20 minutes to describe something that should take 2. But I think this guy is, because the way he's describing things is kind of annoying me, because I'm like, you're trying way too hard to sound more technical than it really is. Like, how about you dumb it down like, you know, the layperson, like you were trying to teach it to somebody, because that's what you are doing. The problem with these people is they don't teach. And when you're trying to describe it to someone who has no idea what the hell you're talking about and is asking questions to get answers for an investigation, you need to act like you're teaching, and you need to put it in simple terms that make sense to someone who doesn't know the system. And I understand that a lot of people asking the questions have degrees in aeronautical engineering and whatever, but still, you need to describe it in a way that is going to make sense and does not require a bunch of follow-up questions that are going to get deep dive into more technicalities. And although I love the word technically, This is not the technical that I like. But I have to get going in a couple of minutes. Real world needs my attention. I got to work and all that. Spawn has a stream coming up in about 20 minutes. We are going to redirect over there. I already have it set up. God, I hope it worked. Thank you to the person who unsubscribed to my channel during the stream. I appreciate you. However, Spawn, do you have any final thoughts before we head on out of here?
Well, what in regards of someone bailing on you because they're afraid of normality? Not really, no.
Well, that too, but you know.
No, yeah, no, not really. I don't want to waste my breath on that. In regards of the NTSB investigation going on right now, I think that the guy at the back there, he needs to be able to speak more. I think he brings a lot of reason and a lot of good sort of productive criticism to the table. Because I think what they're trying to do, they're trying to bamboozle everyone with technical jargon, whereas like let's have a look at the actual problem instead of talking around the problem. And where he's being quite straightforward and upfront by saying, hey, this is what we use when we fly. And no, we don't have a TCAS and we don't get trained on it because it's not in the manual. This is where the problem is. If it's not in the manual and you're not being trained on it, who do you blame? Do you blame the pilots?
Well, I did catch one thing that this guy said. I think it was one of these people. They're all kind of blending together at this point. Even though we only do this a couple of times a week, they're all still blending together in my mind because they all talk the same. That circle talk. I'm going to confuse you in this circle jerk of bullshit until you lose perspective on the question was actually asked. But he did say that they don't meet the helos don't meet the requirements for TCAS. That TCAS system at the climb rate, 1,500 feet per minute.
Yeah, but here's my counter argument on that. It's irrelevant how high you can go and how quick you can get there. The fact is, a TCAS is basically, like you said, a surveillance system to tell you if there's aircraft within the danger area.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying for the way that TCAS is set up and how it monitors.
Yeah.
They don't meet the requirements. I'm wondering if someone should have gone, okay, they don't meet the requirements for the fixed wing TCAS system. How about we invent a TCAS system for helos? That would have been my how about we invent one?
Okay. Now, I'm going to go on my final thought. Thank you very much. All right. Basically, here's the thing. Like everything that we just said, that's what we said. That's part of my final thought as well. The second part is I really do think that they need to take a look. And I'm not saying this because I'm just like watching his videos. But Heavy D, they used to have an MTV. They used to have a show. But the thing is, he has got a Black Hawk. I don't know what variant. I don't know if it's the Mike or the H, the Hotel or Alpha, whatever. I'm not sure what it is. But he sent it away to get it flight worthy and get it fixed and everything else. And they upgraded and updated the equipment in the cockpit. Now, if they can do that on Civvy Street, can you imagine if the DOD decided, okay, here's some money, go and update all the aircraft, regardless of how old they are, just go and upgrade. Because that aircraft that Heavy D has is a former National Guard helicopter. So it comes from the military. So therefore, there is no excuse whatsoever. And my last part about my final thoughts, my last part is this. They're going on about technology and everything else. And they're going away from the fact that 68 people unfortunately lost their life due to breakdown of communication, no equipment, and failure to actually listen to each other. They should be concentrating on that, not on trying to bamboozle people with technology, with all this freaking technology and this talk of science and all the aircraft, if it's that height, no. They need to stick to the facts. Otherwise, this NTSB report is going to go on and on and on and on. And they're not going to, and you've got family members from both sides, from the military side and from the civilian side, sitting in there, right, and having to go through all this. It's wrong. Anyway, that's my final thought. Hello, my little angel. I see you.
Do you want to show Uncle Spawn your nails?
Oh, wow. That looks great. That's brilliant.
All right, guys. That is my final thoughts. Baby Squid says it's time to go. It's time to go. Is it time to go? All right. You want to say bye? Bye. All right. Spawn, you want to eat us out of here?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. And from me to you, yeet.